NTA, you can't beat the reach.
Information is power. Everyone wants power. So feel powerful with the NTA News mobile app, the one-stop information center. Real news at your fingertip. Be the first to report by uploading first-hand information on the U-Report link, and be the first to know by simply clicking on any of the links on the sidebar for headlines, domestic and foreign news, economy, security, politics, sports, and more. Stream live on your smartphone and tablets and stay connected. It's pretty easy. Simply download NTA News app from your Google Play Store and you're good to go. NTA News mobile app, your access to real-time information.
Hello there, it's me, and I guess you know why I'm here. It's another Wednesday night and it's News Extra time. For first-timers, it is the time we give you the news with the extra touch. Tonight, it will gladden the hearts of residents of the Northeast to hear that more Boko Haram insurgents have been put in the cooler by the police. There is more good news as President Buhari ends his tour of duty in the Netherlands. It's more goodies for Nigeria. We have a lot on infrastructure development and youth empowerment. Issues of security also feature prominently tonight from the Northeast at the National Assembly, and then the devastation of flood that everybody is waking up to. That is how we will go, but don't forget, there is politics, and I'm sure you want to hear about the new APC style of conducting party primaries. Also tonight, we have business news stories, road safety, some sports, and of course, Thursday's weather prospects. As usual, I promise you it will be a jolly good ride, and you know I keep my promises. So, welcome to News Extra. I am Fatima Abbas Hassan. And then we begin with the good news. Now, the long-drawn fight against Boko Haram in the Northeast is gradually being won by the forces of good. We hear that the Borno State Police Command has arrested 22 suspected Boko Haram members, destroyed camps, and recovered cache of ammunition. The suspects arrested by a team led by the Deputy Police Commissioner in charge of Federal Special Anti-Robbery Squad, Abba Kari, included 3 sub-commanders, 2 logistics suppliers, and 17 fighters of Boko Haram terrorists. Amina Fadi Ahmadu has that report.
Briefing newsman, Commissioner of Police Borno State, Damian Chukwu, said the Inspector General of Police, Ibrahim Portun Idris, after touring the Northeast, was disturbed by the wanton killing, suicide bomb, and ambush attacks by the Boko Haram, decided to deploy the Force Intelligence Response Team to work in synergy with Commissioners of Police and Police Special Terrorism Investigation Team, leading to the breakthrough.
Some of the Boko Haram sub-commanders and fighters during interrogation confessed to have participated actively in the kidnap of Chibok schoolgirls in 2014.
Police Commissioner Damian Chukwu said they also confessed to taking part in several suicide bombings across the country, ambush, killings of innocent Nigerians, including security personnel in Borno, Adamawa, Yobe, and other affected states. According to the Police Commissioner, since the beginning of the fight against insurgency in the Northeast, especially Borno State, the command has not recorded this magnitude of arrest and confession of Boko Haram commanders and foot soldiers in a single operation. One of the suspects, Adam Mustafa, confessed confessed to have coordinated the conveying of suicide bombers from Sambisa Forest to different locations in Borno and Adamawa states, where they detonated their improvised explosive devices. He also confessed to be the mastermind of the recent suicide bomb attacks along Baga Road, Bulumkutu General Area, Customs Roundabout, Post Office Area, and 333 Artillery Gate. Others are Muna General Area, Kwenga, and Kawi Town, near Bama Local Government, among others. Deputy Commissioner of Police Abba Kyari said the arrests were made after intelligence gathering.
We made sure that they are the right people. We made sure that we know how we can get them. We did all our plannings, and then we struck.
With the significant breakthrough by the Nigerian police, it is hoped that bad tidings will be coming back to Borno State, as security operatives say they will not rest on their oars until law and order is fully restored. From the Borno State Police Command, I'm in Afide Amodu, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari is back in Abuja after a highly successful visit to the Kingdom of the Netherlands. State House correspondent Adam Sambo reports that the president, accompanied by the governors of Plateau and Ondo states, were received on arrival at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport by the Minister of the FCT, Mohammed Musa Bello, the Inspector General of Police, Ibrahim Idris, and other senior government officials. While in the European Union, President Buhari addressed International Criminal Court on the need for the expansion of its jurisdiction to deal with flagrant abuse of trust, illegal financial flows, and repatriation of stolen assets. He also met with the Dutch Prime Minister and chief executives of Dutch companies, where various investment decisions were secured for the nation's economic development. Some members of the Nigerian delegation spoken to described the visit as thought-provoking and highly beneficial to Nigeria.
It was a most splendid trip. One, the fact that it was the only leader, only president all over the world invited to speak at the 20th anniversary of the International Criminal Court is very significant. It shows the esteem in which Nigeria is held all over the world now. And then the content of his keynote address was very, very good, very profound. He said, beyond the International Criminal Court trying cases of genocide, war against humanity, aggression and all that, include corruption in it. He said cases in which there had been illegal outflows from countries that impoverish the people. Let it join the cases that the ICC would treat. I think that is very fundamental. You know, whenever a president goes out like this, three things are uppermost in his mind, and they are the three cardinal programs of the administration: security, reviving the economy, fighting corruption. In the meeting with the Prime Minister of Netherlands, those three featured. And even in the meeting with the CEOs of Dutch-owned companies, the three featured. So going forward, I believe that a lot will come from the Dutch government and Dutch-owned companies towards Nigeria in those three directions.
I have a brewery that I've been looking for investors. Here, I got the opportunity to meet with very key top investors in the brewery industry. And also my visit to the Research Institute has also encouraged me, has expanded my scope about agriculture.
We were at the Rotterdam port, aside with the president and all of us discussing with the CEO. It's an important development, and that's why we're making a case that, look, Nigeria, we have to develop a port in that line, and I think it's an important thing.
Now, anywhere the president goes these days, Nigeria gets something. Well, it wasn't any different from the Netherlands, as the Royal Dutch Consortium, otherwise referred to as the Shell Group, has announced plans to inject over $5 billion in Nigeria's oil and gas sector before the end of the year. The chief executive officer of the company, Ben van Beurden, disclosed this while conducting President Buhari on a tour of its refinery in Pernis, the Netherlands. State House correspondent Adam Sambo has more on that.
The Shell refinery at Pernis in the Netherlands is the biggest in Europe and one of the most complex around the world. It has 60 production plants, some of which as old as 60 years. The chief executive officer of the oil giant, Ben Van Beurden, told President Buhari that about 20% of the crude being refined there is from Nigeria. He commended the Nigerian leader for the openness, transparency, stability, and reliability of the nation's oil industry. This, he said, informed an investment decision by the company to inject $15 billion in the development of Bonga offshore oil fields, as well as expanding the liquefied natural gas project. Foreign Affairs Minister Geoffrey Onyama told NTA News that the Nigerian economy is to receive over $5 billion of the figure before the end of the year.
With his experience in the oil sector, Mr. President was able to discuss with great experience and knowledge with them. And as a result of that engagement, the investment of over $5 billion by Shell has come much closer and is almost certain now to take place very, very, very shortly. That's very important for our economy, especially the investment coming in through this year, and that was a real a major breakthrough.
President Muhammadu Buhari also undertook a guided tour of the port of Rotterdam, the gateway to Europe, as well as an important logistics hub for global trade. Some 180,000 people work in and around the port, which covers an area of more than 40 kilometers. The goods and services produced in the port's industrial complex have a total added value of some 21 billion euro per year. The managing director of the Nigerian Ports Authority, Hadiza Bala Usman, accompanied President Muhammadu Buhari to the port.
The Nigerian ports and the Port of Rotterdam both operate a landlord model of the port. So that is a key, I'll say, connection between the two port locations. So we're discussing with them on how they can provide us certain technical knowledge on their concession agreements that exist with their terminal operators, and the same way Nigeria too has similar relationship with their terminal operators.
Are there things you have seen here that can be replicated in Nigeria?
Well, absolutely. There are a number of things that we've seen. We would work with the Port of Rotterdam to see how we can add value. One of the things we've seen is the fact that the towage service is being handled by the private sector. Interestingly, Nigerian Ports Authority too is working towards replicating the same licensing regime across our piloted districts, whereby private sector would provide towage services for all locations.
The governors of Plateau and Ondo states, as well as several ministers, were on the president's entourage. From the Netherlands, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Well, history is in the making as Nigeria sets to recapture the sky by unveiling the logo of a new national carrier, Nigerian Air. 15 years after the nation's air flag bearer, the Nigerian Airways was liquidated. Emmanuel Ayimiro refreshes our memory and peeps into the crystal ball on what the future holds.
The Nigeria Airways, which ceased operations in 2003, would have been 60 years on the 1st of October this year. Founded in 1958 after the dissolution of West African Airways Corporation, Nigerian Airways bore Nigeria's flag for 45 years, providing domestic and international air services. Mismanagement, corruption and competition led to the fleet depleting to about 3 aircraft from about 30 and indebtedness to the tune of millions of dollars. On assumption of office, President Buhari pledged to get Nigerians a national carrier before the end of his first tenure, and that is coming to pass as Nigeria at the Farnborough Air Show in London unveiled the logo and named it Nigeria Air. This is coming after a series of planning, consultations and negotiations with stakeholders in the industry within and outside the country.
It is a dream come true. It will afford the nation to reap from where we are now losing, that we have tons and tons of foreign airliners operating into our country without making the reciprocal flights into their countries on our bilateral air services agreements. There are qualified pilots, there are qualified aircraft maintenance engineers all over the place. They will be accommodated and there will be job creations.
This government means well for Nigeria. The benefit is actually it's something unquantified. To see among other countries that Nigerian Airways only vanishing all of a sudden, and now somebody managed to bring it back. I think this is the biggest benefit that we can think about.
The Minister of State Aviation, Hadi Sirika, has last week disclosed that the new national carrier will take off December this year. Emmanuel Ayemiro, NTA News.
Well, necessity is said to be the mother of invention. And in the case of Nigeria, abundance can be said to be the mother of inertia. Did you ask why? The kindness of nature gives every part of Nigeria varieties of resources. Yet, these are neglected due to easy revenue from oil resources for more than half a century, which has been what Nigeria depends on, is the answer. But now, the good news is that government strategically opens up opportunities to exploit other resources, as we hear in this report by Usman Aliyu.
Thick coat of dust and evidence of decades of abandonment of Ajaokuta Steel Company, which cost Nigeria $8 billion to build. 80% of the raw materials needed are within the company's 60-kilometer radius. The Federal Ministry of Mines and Steel Development says the company intervention of the Buhari administration is reviving Ajaokuta. Natural resources in Nigeria are everywhere, but relying on import has been retarding the nation's economic takeoff. That is what the present government tries to correct in its housing project, which is hinged on the use of materials that are locally produced. Potentialities of local content begin to rise up with industries springing up daily, and materials produced compete with those that have already excelled. An exhibition here tells of the quality of tiles for floor and wall, as well as newly introduced ceramics roofing sheets. Spain, which tops the rank in this business, is what Nigeria looks after for competition on quality. And here is a Spanish verdict.
We can say that the Nigerians are improving the quality a lot during the last years, and they are arriving to levels of manufacturing than in Europe that are the more traditional producers of ceramics.
We are competing with that of Spain because the machineries that they are using the same machineries that we are also using here. The raw materials is only the different thing that they have compared to what we have, but our own raw materials are equally even better than their own. Because if you test the standard of our tiles, you'll be very, very impressed.
In the history of most developed nations, cities grow in response to industrialization. News.
Thank you, Usman. No more wastages of taxpayers' money. It must be protected and well utilized for the overall development. This has been the position of the Buhari administration on all the ongoing projects, and the Ministry of Water Resources has been implementing this policy to the latter. This is the practice again as the federal ministry takes over Farurua Independent Hydroelectric Power Project in Nasarawa State. Musbaut Wahab was there. And our
government area of Nasarawa State. It is now rather abandoned, a clear departure from the noble idea that gave birth in 2002. The project, which got to this level in 2007, is intended to generate 20 megawatts to improve power supply for domestic and industrial use, as well as generate economic activities and employment opportunities in the state. But for years, those aspirations continue to remain dreams.
We had expended about 5 billion naira on this project because of the paucity of
Nigeria by the federal government. The pilot phase in the Benin-Owena River Basin Development Authority covers 60 hectares of land, 25 for oil plantation, another 25 hectares for cassava, farm beds for vegetables and fruits, artificial and earth ponds for fish, as well as pens for pigs, occupy the remaining 10 hectares of land. And these workers here are harvesting tiger nuts planted 3 months ago. And I've been told that fertilization here is strictly organic.
One enterprise depends upon the other for its survival. Like in our market garden, the droppings from the Our farming here is all year round because it is being irrigated.
The idea is to train young entrepreneurs to also replicate this model everywhere, beginning from their communities.
Now we have engaged with the National Youth Service Corps scheme, and a number of coppers have been attached to us, and they are all, involved on the farm. An individual who can sustain even 1 hectare can live on it.
As beneficial as this model is in terms of low cost addressed.
You bring this policy today, as long as the policy is going, before it has time to mature and materialize and become impactful. Oh, another project, another system comes in. This has been the problem in this country.
Minister of Water Resources Suleiman Adamu, on resumption, restated the federal government's commitment to making river basins development authorities fulfill their objective of enhancing food security through all year-round farming. And as government continues to support agricultural growth, the message is that if each Nigerian youth becomes a producer of an agricultural product, it will go a long way in contributing to the food basket of the nation. In Benin, Agatha Egwaruju, NTA News.
Now, the journey to actualize the sole mandate of training young Nigerians in skills acquisition by the Mohammed has arrived Washington, D.C. in the United States of America. The minister, among other engagements, will visit the Atlantic Council, where the Council's African Center will convene a high-level roundtable. At the forum, The minister will address participants and reinforce the present administration's achievements under President Muhammadu Buhari and efforts being made to give every citizen a sense of belonging, as well as efforts to respect the rule of law. This is News Extra. Up ahead, royal fathers put heads together to present a common front towards resolving national emergency challenges. These are more when we return after these messages. Join us again.
Wow, Chief Mike, how are you? Fine. I'm going to Sun office for the certification of my wheat flour.
Oh no, things have changed. Sun has simplified all its activities. You could have even stayed back in Kano and process all your papers online.
Whoa.
With the efforts of Sun, the products of SMEs can now compete globally. Sun has put in place necessary machineries in support of the growth of SMEs. At highly subsidized charges, SMEs can now get their certification, laboratory testing of their products, as well as purchase of standards. Meanwhile, Sun is carrying out massive seizure of substandard goods in the market and have gotten legal backing to prosecute offenders, all to protect consumers and SMEs. Sun, improving life through standards.
Share a mantis, make a friend. Stick together till the end. Share a mantis, socialize. Share Mentos and be nice.
Mentos candy. Crunchy outside, chewy inside.
Have some fun. Who says no to Mentos?
Now introducing the new Mentos Extra Strong Mint.
Time don't reach again for the biggest event for top football matter. Now mobile pill and win. And as millions of people around the world they scatter their head on top their favorite teams, mobile won't make sure say you go hammer your own trophy big time. Whether you be mechanic, driver, even car owner. Now mobile pill and win. Just buy the 4-liter size of mobile super 1000 lubricant. Peel the front and back labels and you go see pin number. Text mobile plus the pin to 58123 and instanta you go win airtime. That pin where you send so go also qualify you for the raffle draw for mobile pill and win promo where you fit win tear-rubber motor, generator, gas cooker, motorcycle, tricycle, smartphone and other prizes there. No be small, you know. Mobile promo go shell from the 15th of May go reach 31st of August 2018. The more mobile lubricant you buy, the more your chance to win. No dull yourself, oh. Make you dey peel, dey win, dey go. Terms and conditions dey shao.
Make it mobile.
Your favorite Maggi star now wears a new look. Its great taste and quality still remain the same. With Maggi, every woman is a star. Maggi!
Fake news which is shared for malicious purposes is a danger to our peace and security in Nigeria. Misinformation as fake news is a serious threat to our hard-earned democracy and promotes hatred and misunderstanding between our communities. We are all responsible for stopping the spread of fake news in its tracks. So, always check the source and credibility of any news item. Say no to fake news. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information.
Do you know that the Nigerian police now operates in the best international practices of policing? Do you know that the Nigerian police has been restructured to be more accountable and responsive to all your security challenges? Now, what the police demand from you is your trust, your collaborative efforts by providing necessary information about criminals and their activities in your neighborhood. Be vigilant to achieve our creed as we promise. We shall police the country based on international core values of policing with integrity. We shall ensure that rule of law prevails in our actions and activities. We shall respect diversity, display courage, show compassion, and demonstrate professionalism. We shall operate within the principle of democratic policing. We shall shun corruption, and we shall make Nigeria safer and secured under the leadership of IGP Ibrahim Otum Idris.
Let the wind of change blowing across the country chase away crime for the benefit of our society. Yes, the Nigerian police says this change must come with peace and tranquility.
This message was brought to you by the Public Relations Department of the Nigerian Police Force.
We're glad to have you back. Join us again on News Extra. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo says the partnership between traditional authority and government is crucial to resolving most pressing security issues in the country. He said this while declaring open the National Development Summit of Traditional Rulers in Nigeria, holding in Abuja. The Vice President describes traditional rulers as repositories of important intelligence that can be useful in detecting auspicious or criminal activity, and this informs the administration's approach to dealing with security issues, especially in the Niger Delta, where the new vision of government has started yielding tangible dividends, as well as in the Middle Belt region. State House correspondent Jide Onifade completes the report.
Commenting on the theme of the summit, Make Nigeria Great Again, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo says this reminds the people of the great hopes and deeds of the heroes past and challenges to more phenomenal achievements. He observes that the theme argues against complacency or living on past glories. As he notes, the theme challenges on what should be done to make Nigeria truly great and what will the role of the royal fathers be.
What is existential is whether the institutions can, by exemplifying high values and morals, raise the capacity of the people for high thought, for integrity, and for right doing. In other words, whether our royal institutions can project the highest traditions of our people, and by so doing, encourage the establishment of a good society.
The primary role of government is in maintenance of peace and security. He explains that the administration is playing this crucial role as evident in the remarkable improvements in the Northeast and also the Niger Delta, and now determined to replicate that in the North, Central, and other areas.
May I therefore most respectfully ask that you take this as a call to you as royal fathers, as traditional rulers, as elder statesmen, to commit yourselves to deepening your partnership with the government to achieve our shared goal of laying the foundations of peace and security that will guarantee true greatness for our nation. On our part, we will continue to seek your wisdom and listen to you and explore ways and means of strengthening your place in Nigeria's governance structures.
Dialogue and engagement are just as important as law enforcement, especially in situations triggered by misunderstandings and disagreements between people and communities who have stayed together side by side for centuries. And as agreed, none is better placed than the royal institutions to champion the vision of continued engagement and dialogue.
We cannot do anything against the truth. We must resolve to build a new nation on a foundation of equity, justice, fairness, labor, and high moral standards.
The event marks the 10th anniversary of the National Development Summit of Traditional Rulers in Nigeria. In Abuja, Jide Onifade, NTA News.
In the meantime, the Sultan of Sokoto, Muhammad Saad Abubakar III, has resubmitted a memorandum by the National Council of Traditional Rulers in Nigeria to the National Assembly for the reinstatement of the status of traditional ruling system into the Nigerian constitution. The memorandum containing roles and functions of traditional rulers before and during colonial era was received at the National Assembly Open Week. National Assembly correspondent Abdullahi Aminu has that report.
Interactive section focused on the socio-economic, political and security challenges of the nation and the need to review Nigeria's constitution in order to properly accommodate the role of traditional rulers. The interactive session is aimed at providing lasting solution on how best to move Nigeria forward. The Sultan of Sokoto, Muhammad Saad Abubakar III, represented by Etunupe Yahya Abubakar, emphasized that the council is not in any way trying to usurp any function of elected office holder. The idea, according to him, is to contribute its quota to national growth, peace and security as it has always been from the time immemorial.
Traditional leaders of this country to get more involved in playing strong advisory role to political formation and how to take this country to another level.
We are urging the National Assembly to consider and include the Constitution for the transitional institution.
Speaker House of Representatives Yakubu Dogara noted that the traditional institution is still vital to the attainment of political stability, adequate security, and sustainable development.
Security crisis in the country have once again raised questions on the role that traditional rulers can play in fostering peace and development and enhancing national identity.
Speakers at the forum were specific on the need for sincere attitudinal change by politicians in the country.
The main reason for the total collapse of virtually every institution of government is the collapse of our roots.
This is not a matter of playing to the gallery. The fact is there.
Submissions by Arewa Consultative Forum, Yoruba Council of Elders, and elders from the southern region stressed the need for an indivisible Nigeria with a political system that will better the lives of Nigerians. From the National Assembly, Abdullahi Aminu, NTA News.
The federal government is to commence boundary delineation in Izi in Ebonyi State and Ukele in Cross River State. Minister of Interior, Lieutenant General Abdulrahman Dambazau, made this known after inspecting the communities which were recently engulfed in crisis. Chinaza John reports that the minister was accompanied by the State Deputy Governor, security chiefs, and community leaders.
The boundary dispute between the people of Igbago in Izi Council area of Ebonyi State and Mfu in Ukele Council area of Cross River State, which started in 2004, resurfaced a month ago, resulting in loss of lives and destruction of property worth millions of naira.
Start from that year, we not rest, and Ukele people have not allowed us to rest.
We have been running away to secure our lives.
While addressing the internally displaced persons at Igbago Community School, the minister advised them to remain peaceful, assuring them of the federal government's prompt attention.
So I think we must find ways to solve this problem. And there's no other way to do that than to sit on the table, look at these things very well. After all, whichever side you are still neighbors.
The Deputy Governor of Ebonyi State, Dr. Kelechi Igwe, in company of community leaders and members of Boundary Commission, conducted the minister round the buffer zone. He said the crisis has affected the economic base of over 7,000 villagers. Before leaving the state, Lieutenant General Dambazo paid a courtesy visit to Governor David Umahi and also inspected ongoing projects, including the new federal prison being constructed by the Ebonyi State government. In Abakaliki, Chinaza John, NTA News.
Well, with the sophistication in cross-border crimes and insurgency, the need to improve confidentiality on national security matters becomes imperative. It is in furtherance of this for Nigeria that the Senate has commenced the consideration of a bill to establish a Defense Research and Development Bureau for the country. The bill has been passed at second reading. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Onkwo has the details.
Actions by democratic economies across the world to come to terms with the challenges of the time towards finding ways to overcome them basically depends on extant laws governing the people. In that regard, the Nigerian Senate is poised to ensure that the country should give more priority attention to production of its weapons and defense strategies. This necessitated the bill for an act to establish a Defense Research and Development Bureau. Senator Abubakar Kyari from Borno North is the sponsor.
The success of modern-day military forces is measured by their ability to develop and use unique technologies to effectively confront unique security challenges.
During the budget, money should be pumped in so that we do the right thing. Then at the end of the day, we will end up producing armored cars, ballistic missiles, and so many other things.
There's no need for Nigeria to buy bullets. We can make bullets. There is no need for Nigeria to buy AK-47. We can make it.
The establishment of this institution is long overdue, has been long overdue. But it's better late than never.
Both the economy and military strength of a nation determines its foreign policy.
In democratic practices, in armament and all that, Nigeria should be a leader. So whatever we need to do, including passing this bill, needs to be done.
The issue of national security continued on the floor, with the bill seeking to establish a National Institute for Counter-Terrorism Research, which will carry out in-depth study on terrorism and related crimes, sponsored by Senator Shehu Sani from Kaduna Central, was also passed at second reading.
Now, bid to add legislative flavor to fight terrorism, a democratic act in the nature of the National Institute of Counter-Terrorism is a sure bait.
The bill was referred to the Senate Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters to report back within 4 weeks. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Unko, NTA News.
Well, wars are usually fought using weapons like guns and bows and arrows. But then, the current stabilization stage in the ongoing counterinsurgency operations in the Northeast requires more of intelligence gathering, counter-radical narrations, and other humanitarian support to victims of years of terror attacks. It is in view of this that the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukur Yusuf Buratai, said the Army will continue to partner with non-state actors to ensure the success of the stabilization of areas ravaged by insurgency. This was his message at the Civil-Military Relations Roundtable in Borno State. Defense correspondent Ismail Musa was there.
For some time now, the entire northeast Nigeria has been turned to a theater for different military operations with a view to subdue a common global enemy, terrorism. Following the successful degrading of the Boko Haram terrorist group, the counter-insurgency operation is currently at different stages of stabilization process. These include de-radicalization of victims of violent extremism, cancelling of thousands of IDPs returning to their ancestral homes, ongoing reconstruction of the zone, and resettlement of the people of the area.
The attainment of the requisite synergy with the civil society depends primarily upon the institution of a robust civil-military relation. It is therefore in the pursuit of these laudable goals that I authorized this civil-military relations roundtable titled Civil-Military Relations as a non-kinetic tool for the attainment of sustainable peace and stability in the Northeast.
We hope that at the end, our officers drawn from all over the Nigerian Army formations will be able to understand the critical non-kinetic line of operations.
10 years ago, peace was a scarce commodity, particularly in Borno State.
With peace steadily returning to the Northeast after about 10 years of counter-insurgency operation, a program like this is vital in developing the capacity of military officers in handling arising post-conflict issues. From Maiduguri, the Borno State capital, Ismail Musa, NTA News.
And as the security situation continues to improve in the Northeast, more sustainable ways are being worked out to deepen the gains and develop human capital. Of particular interest to the Tertiary Education Trust Fund is the areas of research to study the philosophy of violence, extremism, such as Boko Haram, to provide counter-narratives on terrorism. Against this background, the fund is supporting the Oli Resource Center for countering violence extremism in the country to a world-class standard in the University of Maiduguri. Ado Ademo also has more on that.
The University of Maiduguri community has every reason to defy the early morning rain to witness the inauguration of the array of projects on this day. Executive Secretary of the Tertiary Education Trust Fund, Abdullahi Bichi Bafa, not only acknowledged the quality and timeliness of the projects, but also the resilience of the university community to the Boko Haram attacks and threats. He pledged support to the University Resource Center on Violence Extremism for researches that will counter extremism and facilitate the achievement of set objectives in counter-terrorism.
This is something that we must support so that University of Maiduguri become the hub in that investigation, in that research, but it's going to permeate the entire sub-Saharan Africa.
Stakeholders advocated more investment in the education sector, especially in the Northeast.
For the over 40 years of existence of the University of Maiduguri, several attempts at actualizing the vision of the founding fathers for the university to have a befitting administrative building to be christened as Senate building had, over the years, eluded us.
The importance of this is for members to see firsthand judicious use of public funds.
The kind of controls that this government have put in place in making sure contractors worked and budgets being appropriated, the funds are being released, it has greatly enhanced the standard of living and the economy of the country at a larger scale.
In appreciation of the federal government support, Senate of the University, in its first sitting in the new chamber, unanimously named the edifice after President Muhammadu Buhari.
That we should name the building Muhammadu Buhari Senate Building. Approved?
It is now Muhammadu Buhari Senate Building of the University of Maiduguri. This project was executed by the current TET Fund administration. Funds were released in 2016 and the projects have just been commissioned. In Maiduguri, Adu Ademwalso, NTA News.
Well, security matters took center stage at the House of Representatives as legislators commenced plenary on a rather sad note as they mourn the killing of 4 policemen by unknown gunmen in Edo State. To this end, the House has urged the Chief of Defense Staff and the Inspector General Police to set up a joint patrol team in order to fish out and bring to justice those behind the criminal act. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali has the report.
In addition to the call for action to apprehend the perpetrators of the police killing at a checkpoint in Edo, members observed a minute's silence in honor of the fallen security operatives. The motion was tabled by Representative Pali Iriasi, in whose constituency the incident happened.
For policemen to be killed at will, and it is a sad commentary.
The budget of 2019, let's dedicate no less than 40% of that budget to armed forces.
We should put things in proper perspective and try to see how we can come together and make sure that we secure those people who secure us.
In another development, the House is to set up an ad hoc committee to investigate the award and payments of pipelines surveillance contractors by Nigeria Ajib Oil Company following alleged abnormalities by Representative Frederick Agbedi and 4 other members. The House equally mandated the Committee on Banking and Currency to investigate the black marketing of mint naira notes, which, according to Representative Adekoya Abdulmajid, are perpetually unavailable in banks. 2 bills were passed at third reading, while 4 were passed at second reading, including an establishment bill for Federal College of Education, DOMA, and that of the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission Act 2004, which seeks to improve statutory functions of the Commission.
NPC that they have the largest accruals, nobody monitors them for want of fund. FRS, nobody monitors them. Customs, nobody monitors them. These are the core mandate of Revenue and Fiscal Commission to monitor accruals and disbursement. You can't disburse effectively what you do not monitor.
The amendment bill on the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission Act 2004 has been referred to the House Committee on Finance for further legislative action. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
Vice President Yemi Osinbajo says the federal government will provide succor to victims of last Friday's flash flood in Abeokuta. The Vice President stated this during an inspection tour of areas devastated by the flood in the Ogun State capital. Lekon Agbonde has the details.
President Yemi Osinbajo touched down at exactly 4:30 p.m. and was received by the state governor Ibekunle Amosun, joined by royal fathers, the Director General National Emergency Management Agency (NEMA), and heads of security agencies in the state. His inspection train visited Amolasho, Ijeun-Titun, Ijaye, Isale-Egbeyin, and Itoku for first-hand assessment of the devastation, and he sympathized with victims as he inspected the areas affected by the Friday flash flood in Abeokuta. Professor Osinbajo noted that the infrastructural development drive of the state government has been the saving grace. Otherwise, the situation could have been worse.
A lot of work has gone on here in Abeokuta, as you can see for yourself. A lot of the drainage has been done and all that. But the rains appear to have been so heavy that they simply overcame the infrastructure that was already in existence. So what we're looking at is how this can be enhanced, how the drainage can be enhanced, how the channelization can be enhanced, and we're in discussions with His Excellency the Governor to see in what specific ways the federal government can be of assistance. But we have to really sit down and look at those issues carefully.
The National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, is already collaborating with its state counterpart to assist victims of the flood. In Abeokuta, Lekon Agbonde, NTA News.
Now to politics. A major development has happened in Nigeria's political climate, especially as it affects internal democracy in party politics. For far too long, political analysts and the rest of the society have observed how party primaries come with their controversies from across board, which hinge on the issue of delegate system. But today, the APC, the party in government, is looking at other options in its future primaries with a view to having, in particular, if adopted, the direct system where every card-carrying member will participate. Political correspondent Saliu Abdullahi looks at the decision and how the party faithful feels about it.
APC new leadership under Comrade Adams Oshomole has at different occasions made it clear that it will not mortgage the process of nominating candidates into elective positions, but give equal opportunity to all aspirants. In the current political dispensation from 1999, political parties have mostly adopted and practiced the option of indirect primary, where only party delegates nominate candidates for elections. It has always been so in party politics in Nigeria, especially since the country has adopted the presidential system of government from the Second Republic. This is about to change, as the governing APC says the upcoming Osun State governorship primary will be a testing ground.
Let the members of the party be the people that will determine who flies their flag,
rather than leaving it to the whims and caprices of a select few who are called delegates, and most often than not are being cornered by money bags of powers that be.
Anybody that will emerge as a result of these direct primaries will be a reflection of the yearnings of and the aspiration of the people.
Article 20 of the APC Constitution stipulates that nomination of candidates into all elective offices shall be through direct or indirect primary election. The decision to adopt the direct approach has thrilled party members, saying transparency and equal treatment to all is key to the party winning elections.
The card-carrying members now, they can vote and be voted.
It is not of general application. Osun is an isolated case.
It's the best way, and then they should give it a chance to succeed.
As it is now, the result of the Osun State primaries will give a leadway and a direction to the general primaries for the 2019 general elections. In Abuja, Salihu Abdullahi, NTA News.
Well, gradually we shall be done with the Ekiti election and more on to the next state. I think Osun. At the moment, though, Ekiti is still the bride. Just today, the governor-elect, Dr. Kayode Fayemi, received his certificate of return from the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) in Ado-Ekiti, the state capital. Kola Adebobuyi tells us more about this.
Following the successful conduct of the governorship election in the state, with the flag bearer of APC, Dr. Kayode Fayemi emerging the winner, INEC issued the governor-elect and his deputy, Chief Bisi Egbeyemi, the certificate of return. Represented by the National Commissioner in charge of Ekiti, Ondo, and Osun states, Solomon Shoyebi, the INEC is a success and reiterated the Commission's determination to continue to be transparent in future elections to promote the nation's democracy.
The people have shown us the way forward, at least in the conduct of elections in Nigeria. We continue to be neutral in every step we take in the electoral process.
The governor-elect, Dr. Kayode Fayemi, appreciated efforts of the critical stakeholders for making the governorship election free, fair, and credible, with a promise not to disappoint the people for giving him the mandate.
The people will see the benefit of good governance from October 16, 2008.
Dr. Fayemi was the immediate past Minister of Mines and Steel Development in Ado-Ekiti. Kola Adebobuyi, NTA News.
Coming up next, some business news-related stories. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
The first question I asked was,
where have you been all my life?
Since then, we have taken every step together. We enjoyed having a pillar of support.
Oh, actually. Especially when the kids were schooling abroad. Oh, how we made it through those years.
We've grown together, and we really wouldn't have come this far alone.
The chemistry is amazing. When we share the same passion, the same drive.
Yes.
And the same vision to succeed.
Everything is so smooth. No drama, no stress, no story.
In fact, we're practically
providing quality, wholesome nutrition to a nation of people who love to sing when we are happy. Love to tell stories when we are together. Love to dance when we hang out. Love to cry when we are touched. Love to shout when we are excited. And love to nurture when we care. We are the food basket of our great nation, and we love it. Golden Penny, feeding the nation every day.
Whenever pain occurs, you want quick relief. Try new Nurofen Express. It goes to the source of pain and gets to work in under 15 minutes. That's why Nurofen Express delivers fast and effective relief. New Nurofen Express works at the source of pain. Fast.
Being a mom is great, but when your child has a fever, you don't know what to do. I trust Nurofen for Children to take care of my child's pain and fever.
Effective relief you can trust.
Guys, listen to me, man. This agbada I am making must be fresher than that last one. Hey, Susu! What's up?
H2O, water's gonna be jealous. Hey, great
great news. Oral-B has just been voted Kudos #1 quality toothpaste of 2017 by you. So even though times are hard, as a mother, you know that Oral-B is good for your family's oral health because they deserve the best. It's great value because it protects you against tooth holes and gum problems that can lead to tooth loss. It strengthens your family's teeth and gives them all-round protection. So remember, protect their future. Oral-B for healthier and stronger teeth in 1 week.
Against Bosnian schemes as the oil share index of the capital market retains its downward trend. Abolade Salami has details of these and other reports on Business News.
Glad to have you join us on the Business News segment. The Security Exchange Commission have advised Nigerians to desist from investing their money in investments that offer unreasonable levels of return. Acting Director General SEC, Mary Udok, says investors need to be wary of any investment that is proposing return levels are unreasonably high. She stressed that the purpose is to ensure that no one falls victims of the antics of fraudsters. Meanwhile, the capital market for some time now has maintained a persistent downward trend as a result of profit-taking. Stockbrokers also attribute the bearish outlook to the reaction in the economy.
The market is not something that will be just a projection that will be going upward consistently. And the market responds to the forces of demand and the situation in the economy as a whole. And so what is going on in the market is just these temporary situations, but it's nothing to worry about.
And now let's see how trading closed midweek on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange.
Midweek trading closed in the red, depreciating by 0.58%, with an all-share index of 36,748.18 basis points and a volume of shares traded at 181 million, valued at 1.64 billion naira, which exchanged hands in 3,854 deals and a market capitalization of 13.3 trillion naira. International breweries with 3 naira 50 kobo gain led the table, followed by PZ, which appreciated by 1 naira 50 kobo, while Guarantee with 2 naira 65 kobo loss led the losers table, followed by Okomo Oil, which depreciated by 2 naira per share.
Stock Market Report concludes Business News segment. News Extra continues shortly. Please stay with us.
And still talking business, transportation is pivotal in the emergence of a strong economy. Besides promoting trade and commerce, it is also a viable means of movement of people, goods and services from one location to another. This undoubtedly necessitated the decision of the Lagos State government to construct 13 bus terminals in line with its bus reform initiative. Paul Omukago, in this report, takes a look at the emerging trend of terminals in Lagos, which is comparable to any in the world.
13 bus terminals by the Lagos State government is aimed at boosting mass transit within the state. A projected 12 million people using public transport are expected to enjoy the facilities being put in place. These facilities include the purchase of 5,000 new buses, with the first batch already at the newly inaugurated Ikeja bus terminal. Commuters are expected to enjoy a rare treat aboard the new buses complete with state-of-the-art facilities, just like you would find in the Western world. Facilities at the terminals include ticketing booths, sheltered walkway, loading bay, waiting area, information center, bus and taxi parks. While the terminals are a departure from the old order of rowdiness, filth and insecurity, stakeholders say it is an innovation they have longed for.
I don't need to be going out with my car anymore.
To even reduce transport fare.
I think it is a very good development.
All these downfalls, their problems are just too much.
That fear of not getting a bus to get to your workplace or not getting a bus to go back to where you are residing will not be there.
It will reduce a lot of accidents and a lot of crime.
Apart from the Ikeja bus terminal expected to service 23 routes, Oshodi interchange with 3 terminals still under construction has a capacity to serve 300,000 travelers daily. with the terminals expected to be fully operational by the last quarter of 2018, Lagos State government says issues of accident would be reduced while stealing at bus stops would be a thing of the past.
Buses are coming up with 4 cameras, one at the back, one at the 2 doors, and one inside to see everything that's going on, and they are linked with the central control system so that anybody that is moving from point A to point B, we monitor the buses' movement. We also monitor exactly what is going on inside the buses. So the issue of security, one chance, all this is off.
The project is to ensure people embrace public transportation. The bus terminals completed and ongoing are located at Ikeja, Ojota, Tafawa Balewa Square, Alakbere, Yaba, Maryland, and Agege. This Oyinbo bus terminal, still under construction, is one of 13 that the Lagos State government is constructing to ease the transport burden of commuters in the states. In Lagos, Paul Omukagu, NTA News.
And talking health now, the endemic nature of the malaria scourge and its resistance to other drugs in its treatment has necessitated the production of a new drug by LB Pharmacy Nigeria Limited for the treatment of malaria. Medical experts at the official launch of the drug, Amatem Fort Soft Gel in Lagos, described it as effective without any form of resistance. Paul Amukago again reports.
Nigeria Limited says it was prompted by the resistance rate discovered in other anti-malaria drugs to introduce Amatem Fort Soft Gel. The chief executive officer of the company, Ushena Obiako, says bioavailability, efficacy, and toxicity of its new brand, Amatem Fort Soft Gel, was confirmed by medical experts at the Lagos State University Teaching Hospital, LASUT, after a thorough test and research.
Amatem Soft Gel is clinically and therapeutically better than the tablets. The soft gel is easy to swallow. The bioavailability is much higher compared to the tablets.
There's a clinical trial done on our novel innovative therapy of artemether-lumefantrine in soft gelatin for the first time. We are taking the next step towards the battle, which is a big threat.
You are not only looking at treating the malaria, you are equally looking at preventing the molecule you have at hand.
The team of medical experts who carried out the test before its presentation says Amatem Fort Soft Gel is temper-resistant, marks unpleasant taste, odor or smell of the active ingredients, and has reduced risks of environmental contamination.
We have used many drugs that have developed, that the malaria has developed resistance to. Now we found a new drug that could cure without any resistance.
Amatem Soft Gel Fort is more bioavailable, is more present in the bloodstream than the other tablet brand.
Malaria, a disease caused by a Plasmodium parasite transmitted by the bite of infected mosquitoes, the experts say is known to be endemic in Africa. The introduction of Amatem Fort Soft Gel into the Nigerian markets, medical experts say, is a major landmark achievement in Lagos. Paul Omukagu, NTA News.
The national chairman of the National Union of Road Transport Workers, NURTW, Alhaji Najim Usman Yassin, has urged transport unions and associations to seek a more productive means of generating revenue rather than relying on sale of tickets. Alhaji Najim was speaking at the commissioning of an ultra-modern hall in Abeokuta, built by the Ogun State Council of the NURTW. Muhammad Adebowali was there.
National President NURTW Alhaji Najimdin Yassin, while commissioning the ultra-modern hall, noted that no project is too small to effect the needed transformation the nation's economy requires, hence the need for all unions, associations or groups to embark on projects that will contribute immensely to the socio-economic development of their host communities.
The hall being built by the Ogun State Council of our union is going to be a revenue generation for the organization. All other state councils that doesn't have this should make sure they emulate them and have something like this on ground as a legacy.
Earlier, the state chairman of the union, Alhaji Akim Adeosun, said any union that wants to be successful and be a partner to the economic growth of the society must have various means of generating revenue rather than relying on sales of tickets.
I'm also for what has been done in the state, so that is why making me change my mind, call my members that we should find something to do in the state because they are calling the state standard.
The state governor, represented by his deputy Yetunde Ononuga, described the project as unprecedented, commending the foresight of the union in the state.
You can see today that you have thought of a way to ensure you have money in your purse. This will not only be for those in the state, those who come from other states will benefit from it.
In Abeokuta, Mohammed Adebowale, NTA News.
Are you fond of drinking and driving? Watch out. The Federal Road Safety is coming after you. We'll tell you more about that when we return. Join us again.
My promise to my child. I am not your friend. I'm your mother. I will stalk you, debate you, and hunt you down if I have to. Because when it comes to protecting you, there's no such thing as too tough. That's why every night, I insist on Baygon Multi-Insect Killer for tough mosquito protection before bedtime, so I know my loved ones can fall asleep protected. SC Johnson, a family company.
Brought us as usual.
As usual. You have no problem.
For the three people.
You are welcome, sir.
As usual, yeah?
Welcome.
You take that one.
You take that one.
You
don't understand? We want Nigerian homegrown rice. Finish. You don't have?
You don't have?
Join the rice revolution today.
No other rice that tastes like Nigerian rice. Are you sorry? That's the Nigerian rice we are talking about. Chocolate made in Nigerian rice. Healthy food. I'm going to bring Mrs. Mobu to come to chocolate rice of made in Nigeria here. And see how it are made.
Correct.
And how they are cook it.
Correct.
Homegrown rice are good for your health. It boosts our economy and give employment to our people.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
You're welcome back. For Nigeria to attain her full potential and rightful place in the Committee of Nations, Nigerians must put aside all differences and unite. This is the only way that the achievements of the Buhari-led administration in critical areas of the nation's development can be sustained. This was the key message at the Maiden Blueprint Impact Series Awards held in Abuja. Dennis Adeguloyi was there and now reports.
As the fourth estate of the realm, media practitioners were reminded of the crucial role they play in the dissemination of information and fostering national unity. And this responsibility must be defended with all sense of integrity and patriotism. This formed the bedrock of the Maiden Awards ceremony organized by Blueprint newspapers.
The balance that the media provides, and for which we all stand here today, must be achieved by giving currency to ensure that all sides are always represented.
We need to stimulate Nigerians to work together. At the same time, involving communities in their own development, all leading to raising living standards.
You can't have tolerance and unity where people speak evil of one another.
There is an addiction of social media in this country. This is very critical for us, especially now when we're just gearing up for the 2019 elections.
Those considered to have imbibed these traits became the first awardees for their services to nation building. The theme of the ceremony was tolerance, unity and security, building a legacy for national development. Dennis at Digonloye, NTA News.
The need to constantly combat driving under the influence of alcohol and drugs has taken another dimension with the proposed acquisition of breathalyzers for testing drunk drivers in Nigeria. Ngozi Chude reports that this initiative is coming on the heels of ensuring strict safety rules by the Federal Road Safety Corps.
Available statistics by the Federal Road Safety Corps shows that 90% of road accidents in the country are as a result of alcohol and hard drugs abuse among motorists. This interface by the Federal Road Safety Corps and BIAS Sectoral Group BSG is therefore to set in motion the process of acquiring breathalyzers for the Corps to run a pilot scheme within stipulated commands. Corps Marshal Boboye Oyeyemi reveals that the scheme will primarily focus on training its personnel on testing driving under influence DUI, as well as enlightenment campaign for drivers across the country.
And this idea was accepted, and we signed an MOU between the BIA Group and FRSC, and I think we are moving on well course in respect of this. And I'm happy the stance you've taken to ensure continuity of all the programs, and whatever we are doing is life-saving.
The chairman, BIA Sectoral Group, assures the core of the readiness of the group to comply with FRSC standards and lead by example by preaching the need to install speed limiters to their members.
And beyond that, I think that as a big sectorial group, we want to fight for the same purpose, which is to save lives, to make sure that responsible drinking is happening with our product, because at the end we represent a product which is joyful, which is for celebration.
The Federal Safety Corps also Transport Safety Standardization Scheme to ensure strict adherence to safety rules. In Abuja, Ngozi Chude, NTA News.
Well, it is the rainy season. Find out if you will be needing an umbrella tomorrow in the weather forecast coming up after these messages.
Experience, they say, is the best teacher.
They hold us from the sea. Thank God that we came back home. They should not go there because it's not good. It's a very bad place. So they just my advice.
Even now, sir, if they are shooting the boat they are going to use to go Italy, may they stop it. May they stop it. Our country is good. Our country is a blessed country. Now I know our country is a blessed country. I know before I for not travel from Nigeria to Libya. I know how much I spent.
Let these personal experiences serve as a lesson to all who would repeat their mistakes. A word is enough for the wise.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by NTA.
You're welcome back. It's still NTA News Extra. We take a look at the foreign scene now. Former U.S. President Barack Obama addresses over 200 African youths, urging them to mobilize for the development of the African region. For details of this and more on happenings around the world, Ilyasu Ali Yakubu is standing by.
Thanks for joining us on this segment of the news. Former U.S. President Barack Obama has enjoined African youths to be more dedicated in building the African region.